Welcome to a special episode of the Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up for the week ending November 18, 2024. This week, we're delivering a higher level of insight into global security and intelligence, with a special focus on President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House and how it could shape international relations and national security. We start by examining a high-profile case from the United States Justice Department involving an alleged assassination plot against Trump, revealing the intensity of America-Iran tensions. Next, we look at how extremist groups, both domestic and international, are responding to Trump's election, seeing it as a shift in U.S. influence that could present new opportunities and threats. We'll also discuss concerns among former American intelligence officials about the potential for political influence within the intelligence community, and how this could impact the objectivity of intelligence operations. In Canada, we explore the scrutiny facing Canadian policies from Trump's appointees, potentially affecting cross-border security and diplomatic relations. These stories, insights, and more. With over 25 years of experience as a trained intelligence officer, Neil Bisson is here to bring you the analysis and insights used by governments to make crucial security decisions. So let's join him as we delve into these top intelligence stories and their far-reaching implications for global security.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to a special edition of Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up. In this episode, I will be focusing on President-elect Donald Trump and how his return to Washington will shape the world of international relations and national security from an intelligence perspective. Donald Trump is a polarizing and divisive figure. However, as with all of my intelligence products, I am going to focus on the information and let the listener be the judge as to how they wish to see the upcoming 47th President of the United States and his potential effect on the world. Being the leader of the most powerful economic and military country in the world has profound effects on the world's stability. With this in mind, let's dive into the stories that are shaping the world of intelligence from the perspective of a new president taking over. Our first story centers on a high-profile case from the United States Justice Department, which recently charged a man accused of plotting to assassinate President-elect Donald Trump on behalf of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. I'll examine this alleged plot, the background behind it, and what it reveals about the current geopolitical tensions between Iran and the United States. According to a criminal complaint from the U.S. Justice Department, Farhad Shakiri, an Afghan immigrant residing in Tehran, was allegedly tasked by Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC, to plan an assassination attempt on President-elect Donald Trump. Shakiri, who reportedly has a history of serious criminal activity in the United States, was deported in 2008 after serving time for a robbery conviction. The charges against Shakiri include conspiracy to provide material support to a terrorist organization, money laundering, and murder for hire. The complaint further alleges that Shakiri's role extended beyond planning Trump's assassination. He also coordinated a plot to kill a prominent Iranian journalist in the United States who was openly criticizing the Iranian leadership. This case is the latest in a string of alleged Iranian attempts to target prominent U.S. figures linked to policies seen as hostile by Tehran. Tensions between Iran and the United States escalated significantly after the Trump administration withdrew from the 2015 nuclear deal and reimposed sanctions on Iran, making a shift in U.S.-Iran relations. In 2020, the Trump administration ordered the assassination of IRGC General Qasem Soleimani, a move that fueled animosity and intensified Iran's rhetoric against the former administration. The IRGC, classified as a terrorist organization by the United States, is no stranger to such alleged plots. Last year, the Justice Department reported that an IRGC member offered a bounty to target former U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton, and similar threats have reportedly been extended to former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. These incidences underscore Iran's continued strategic pressure on U.S. figures associated with hardline policies against Tehran. Attorney General Merrick Garland stated that Shakiri was directed by the Iranian regime to coordinate a network of associates to carry out these plots. While specifics are limited, U.S. intelligence agencies have been closely monitoring these activities, particularly after reports in July suggest a potential assassination plot against Trump. The case highlights the ongoing struggle between Iranian influence operations in the U.S. and efforts to counter them. The Biden administration has emphasized protecting former officials and high-profile threats, like this one, that highlight the persistence of security risks faced by U.S. leaders after leaving office. The targeting of Trump and other officials clearly demonstrates the far-reaching impact of U.S. Iran relations on individual security. The charges against Farhad Shakiri point to deepening hostilities between Iran and the U.S., with alleged assassination plots marking an alarming escalation. As these cases unfold, they underscore the ongoing security challenges and political complexities in the Iran-U.S. relations. It is likely, given the continued animosity between Iran and the United States, as well as the U.S. continued and likely increased support of Israel, that potential assassination plots out of Iran will also continue. President-elect Trump will need to increase and maintain his security detail upon taking office. In our next section, I'm examining a concerning shift among terrorist groups following the recent U.S. election. With Donald Trump as the president-elect, several extremist factions view this as an opportunity to exploit what they perceive as a weakening in U.S. global dominance. Let's look into the reaction from these groups, including the Islamic State, or IS, and domestic far-right extremists, as they prepare to take advantage of this transition in power. Donald Trump's return to presidency has stirred discussions across the spectrum of extremist groups. Many believe his administration will usher in reduced global military engagement and potentially align more closely with Russia, signaling a retreat of U.S. influence that some see as a favorable development for their own objectives. On encrypted platforms like Rocket.chat, IS supporters have been quick to weigh in on Trump's electoral victory. Users expressed a mix of emotions, with some viewing his stance on Russia and Ukraine as indirectly beneficial to their cause. Trump's previous strong action against IS, including the 2019 killing of its leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, haven't been forgotten. Yet, some members speculate that Trump's preference for reducing U.S. involvement in international conflict could create power vacuums they could exploit. Beyond the Middle East, IS and its affiliates continue to monitor Russia closely, as seen in the March 2024 attack of the Moscow theater. For them, any signs of U.S. stepping back, especially in regions like Ukraine, signal opportunities to advance their own objectives against what they consider weakened state targets. Stateside, far-right and neo-Nazi groups have also expressed hope that a Trump administration will shift federal resources away from targeting their activities. On Telegram, former members of the now-defunct Autowaffen division celebrated potential reduction in FBI and DHS agents under Trump's proposed Government Efficiency Commission. The implications of a streamlined federal workforce, potentially less focused on domestic extremism, resonates positively with these circles. Figures within the far-right ecosystem believe this transition could provide them with more freedom to recruit, grow, and operate without significant federal oversight. As some extremists hope, a reduced federal law enforcement presence may mean less surveillance and fewer restrictions on their movements. Meanwhile, violent groups like Blood Tribe expect that even under Trump's administration, their visibility and actions may lead to continued federal scrutiny. Yet, the sentiment among many extremists remains optimistic, with some hoping for an environment where their ideologies face fewer constraints. According to terrorism analysts like Lucas Weber and Joshua Fisher-Birch, the current chatter among both international and domestic extremists reveals a calculated response to the anticipated changes in U.S. foreign and domestic policies. IS members are crafting strategies that they believe will capitalize on perceived geopolitical shifts, while domestic extremist groups interpret Trump's proposed federal workforce cuts as an opportunity to push their agendas without the same level of federal intervention. These responses highlight the dangers of political transitions as opportunistic groups on both sides attempt to exploit their perceived weaknesses in federal law enforcement and foreign policy. Analysts warn that a reduction in counterterrorism focus could embolden these organizations, potentially increasing their threat to both the U.S. and global security. The reactions from terrorist and extremist groups following Trump's election serve as a reminder of the complexities involved in counterterrorism. As the transition unfolds, monitoring these groups' plans and messaging will be essential to understanding the emerging threats that they pose. As my listeners know, Canada has dealt with its fair share of far-right groups as well, and the convoy in the capital demonstrates how emboldened these groups can become when they are left unchecked. The next story deals with the predictions from former CIA Director Leon Panetta and how President-elect Donald Trump's foreign policy might impact the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Panetta foresees Trump giving Israel a blank check in its ongoing conflict with Iran, potentially escalating tensions to the brink of war. I'll explore Panetta's thoughts on Trump's stance towards Russia and Ukraine and the implications for the European stability. Following Donald Trump's recent election victory, questions have surfaced about the future of U.S. policy in the Middle East and its potential effects on global stability. Former CIA Director Leon Panetta predicts that Trump will offer Israel an unrestricted green light in handling its regional conflicts, particularly with Iran. According to Panetta, Trump's support for Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu may go so far as to back any aggressive move potentially leading to a full-scale conflict. Panetta expressed these views during an interview, suggesting that Trump's blank check approach could embolden Israel to intensify its actions against Iranian assets and interests. Since the attack by Hamas on Israel in October 2023, tensions have steadily escalated, with Israel carrying out operations targeting Iran's proxies and facilities in the region. Trump's apparent openness to Netanyahu's policies could encourage further confrontations, raising fears of a prolonged and intense conflict that might draw in other nations. Shifting focus to East Europe, Panetta expresses concerns about Trump's possible stance on Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. With significant territory under Russian control since 2022, Trump has hinted that he may be inclined to accept a negotiated peace deal that allows Russia to retain portions of Ukraine. This perspective diverges from the previous U.S. administration's unwavering support of Ukraine's sovereignty, raising questions about the potential shift in U.S. commitment to European allies. According to Panetta, Trump's relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin could complicate diplomatic efforts in Ukraine. Many analysts believe that Trump may face fewer constraints in his second term, enabling him to pursue deals aligned with his personal views on diplomacy. Panetta, however, argues that a successful resolution in Ukraine would require experienced negotiators and a strategic approach, suggesting that Trump may struggle to reach an acceptable agreement. Panetta's predictions paint a challenging picture for the international community. By backing Israel without reservation, the U.S. could risk escalating Middle Eastern conflicts, potentially disrupting fragile alliances in the region. Furthermore, a reduced emphasis on countering Russian aggression in Ukraine might alter the balance of power in Europe, with far-reaching consequences for global security. Panetta concluded with a critique of Trump's broad-strokes approach to foreign policy, emphasizing the importance of a nuanced negotiation in high-stake conflicts. While Trump has expressed confidence in his ability to resolve complex issues, Panetta warns that his tendency to yield to authoritarian leaders could create more instability, raising concerns about how the new administration will navigate these critical areas. As I have noted, the implications of Trump's potential foreign policy shifts could affect regions far beyond the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Now let's take a look at an article from NBC News titled, "Former Intelligence Officials Worry Trump Will Try to Politicize and Weaponize CIA." The article explores concerns among former intelligence officers about the potential for increased political influence within United States intelligence agencies as Donald Trump prepares for a second term as president. Let's break down these concerns and what they mean for the intelligence community and national security. At the center of this article are fears that the CIA, along with other U.S. intelligence agencies, may be pressured to serve partisan agendas rather than maintaining objectivity. According to the article, some of Trump's allies from previous terms are likely to take key positions in the new administration. One notable figure, Kash Patel, a strong Trump supporter, was considered for a high-level CIA position during Trump's last term, but faced resistance. This time, with less institutional pushback, Patel and other loyalists may indeed occupy top intelligence positions. From an intelligence perspective, this shift could lead to compromise analysis, potentially skewed to align with political goals of the administration. This not only threatens the integrity of intelligence operations, but also undermines public trust and international alliances that rely on U.S. intelligence sharing. Historically, U.S. intelligence agencies have worked to stay apolitical, especially in the wake of scandals like Watergate, which led to stricter laws against using intelligence agencies for domestic political purposes. However, Trump's often contentious relationship with the intelligence community, notably his remarks in the 2018 expressing more faith in Russian President Vladimir Putin over U.S. agencies regarding election interference, has already strained this perception of impartiality. This upcoming administration is now raising alarms among experts to see a parallel with past controversial attempts to align intelligence work with political goals. The article includes insights from former intelligence officials like Mark Short, who served under Vice President Pence. Short points out that the intelligence leaders in Trump's first term were generally capable and impartial. Now, however, he and others are concerned that Trump's closest allies may take on unprecedented authority over intelligence in national security matters. Another expert, Glenn Gerstill, a former NSA general counsel, noted that while presidents typically have wide discretion over intelligence agencies, appointing highly partisan figures could shift the balance of objectivity in intelligence work toward fulfilling specific political agendas. Drawing from my experience, a more politicized intelligence agency could face resistance from career officers committed to the agency's apolitical values. However, loyalty-based appointments may create an environment where some feel pressured to choose between their integrity and their careers. This article sheds light on very real concerns about how intelligence community could change under a second Trump administration. The possibility of increased politicization may not only impact intelligence assessments, but could also affect the United States' positions in global intelligence sharing networks. The next few years will likely see a heightened scrutiny over intelligence operations and potential pushback against the attempts to politicize U.S. intelligence. In the next story, I'm diving into reports about potential leadership changes at the FBI and CIA, with FBI Director Christopher Wray preparing for a possible forced exit as President-elect Donald Trump takes office. Trump's team is reportedly considering advisor Kash Patel for key roles, sparking debate over the direction of U.S. intelligence agencies. This development highlights the potential for major shifts within U.S. intelligence and law enforcement agencies and raises questions about the implications for national security and intelligence operations under new leadership. FBI Director Christopher Wray, appointed in 2017 by Trump, is reportedly preparing for a possible departure under the incoming administration. Wray's future has been in question since Trump's team contemplated staffing changes, with Trump's advisor, Kash Patel, under consideration to replace him. Patel is also considered to lead the CIA. Patel's history includes senior roles in National Security Council and Department of Defense. He has a reputation for advocating extensive changes within the Justice Department and intelligence agencies. In his memoir, Government Gangsters, Patel called for a house cleaning of the DOJ and FBI, including prosecuting leaders he believes have abused their authority. This potential shift underscores a larger ideological divide about the role and mission of U.S. intelligence agencies. Patel's approach suggests a hardline stance that could reshape both the FBI and CIA's priorities, particularly in counterintelligence, domestic surveillance, and media relations. From an intelligence perspective, such changes could impact the agency's impartiality and operational stability, especially as partisan tensions continue to rise in the U.S. This isn't the first time Trump has clashed with Wray or FBI leadership. Trump's campaign has frequently criticized the FBI, claiming the bureau is politically based. Notably, Wray has faced criticism from Trump and his allies, including calls for his resignation in July after an incident involving a reported assassination attempt on Trump. The FBI confirmed that a bullet struck Trump's ear, prompting Trump to make a pointed commitment about Wray on Truth Social. As Patel's potential appointment looms, it's important to note that his previous role in the Trump administration and his outspoken criticism of intelligence agencies. During Trump's first term, Patel was positioned to become Deputy CIA Director, but was blocked after the then CIA Director, Gina Haspel, threatened to resign. Patel's views reflect a desire to reconstruct U.S. intelligence, which could have an effect on how the agencies conduct operations and interact with media and the public. Patel has made his intentions clear, stating that he aims to overhaul intelligence agencies to align more closely with all American patriots. This plan reportedly includes pursuing members of the media and government whom he believes have misused their powers. This raises concern over how future intelligence operations might be influenced by political objectives rather than strictly national security concerns. His call to pursue conspirators in the media, in particular, suggests a more aggressive posture that could change the agency's traditional apolitical approach. Trump's staffing decisions, such as appointing Susie Wiles as the Chief of Staff and Tom Homan as the Border Czar, indicate a team with a strong loyalty to his administration's vision. If appointed, Patel's leadership would likely usher in a more combative and reform-oriented FBI and CIA. These potential changes to the FBI and CIA leadership suggest a shifting landscape for U.S. intelligence under Trump's administration. The implications for national security are significant, especially as the role of intelligence agencies continues to evolve in an increasingly politicized and polarized environment. As these changes unfold, the intelligence community may face new challenges in maintaining operational integrity and public trust. This next story focuses on potential challenges facing Canada as Donald Trump prepares his second administration, as reported in the article, Trump's appointees have criticized Trudeau, Canada's border security. I'll discuss what Trump's selections of key appointees could mean for Canada-US relations and Canada's national security. The article highlights that several of Trump's recent appointees hold strong views against Canadian policies. Figures such as Mark Rubio, Elise Stefanik, and Kristi Noem have voiced criticisms of Canada's approach to immigration, border security, and defense spending, while others have targeted Trudeau's Liberal government specifically. The implications for Canada are significant, as the U.S. administration may pressure Canada on key areas, from border security to defense spending. From an intelligence perspective, a shifting U.S. stance could strain historically close Canada-U.S. relations. Rubio, anticipated as the Secretary of State, has raised concerns about Canada's border policies and acceptance of refugees, suggesting that this could increase risk to U.S. national security. These critiques align with Republican views on immigration, particularly at border points where cross-border activities could affect both countries' security. This scrutiny of Canada from Trump's inner circle echoes earlier concerns from Trump's first term, where similar themes of border and trade policies came to the forefront. Rubio and Stefanik's comments align with the America First approach, focusing heavily on security and immigration controls at both the southern and northern U.S. borders. Rubio's particular concern about Canada's acceptance of Palestinian refugees has been noted as a security risk in the U.S., underscoring the divisive stance on immigration that Trump's team appears to adopt. Looking back, past Republican-led administrations have often emphasized stringent border measures and rigorous trade agreements. The Canada-U.S.-Mexico Agreement, CUSMA, renegotiated during Trump's first term, is an example of this approach. With CUSMA up for review in 2026, we can see renewed pressure upon Canada for increased defense spending, higher tariffs, and a stricter cross-border security measure control. Professor Fen Hampson, an expert on U.S.-Canada relations from the Carleton University, has noted that Trump's appointees are generally not sympathetic to Canadian positions. In the article, he points out that individuals like Kristi Noem, potentially head of Homeland Security, lack a history of collaboration with Canadian leaders and have been critical of Canada's border and defense policies. The appointment of Elise Stefanik as UN ambassador has also raised concerns, as she has a limited foreign policy experience and a strong stance against UN policies and Canada's humanitarian commitments. In my view, the return of an American First administration could mean heightened scrutiny of Canada's security and defense commitments. This is especially relevant in a climate where global security threats such as Russian aggression and Chinese influence are prevalent, and Canada's position may be viewed as too lenient by Trump's advisors. Trump's recent appointment signals potential challenges ahead for U.S.-Canada relations. The focus on border security, defense spending, and immigration policies could put Canada in a difficult position. With CUSMA up for review and an American First approach shaping Trump's policies, Canada will likely face intensified scrutiny. At our final story, I'll focus on a key component shaping up within President-elect Donald Trump's administration as he prepares for a second term. Trump has tapped Representative Mike Waltz of Florida, a decorated combat veteran and longtime ally, to serve as his national security advisor. This role is pivotal, especially as the U.S. navigates complex geopolitical issues such as conflicts in Ukraine and Israel and rising tensions with China and Iran. Mike Waltz's appointment stands out for several reasons. As a former Green Beret with extensive experience in Afghanistan and the Middle East, Waltz would bring a unique perspective to the role, marking for the first time how a Green Beret would hold this position. Trump's selection of Waltz signals a focus on loyalty and alignment with his agenda, particularly regarding the America First philosophy that has defined much of Trump's approach to national security. Waltz's background and values align with Trump's broader policy goals, which include reassessing U.S. commitments abroad and prioritizing domestic security, especially along the southern border. Given that Waltz is vocal about issues like Afghanistan's withdrawal and its impact on America's allies, his stance suggests a shift towards a more nuanced, perhaps restrictive approach to foreign engagement. Waltz's selection reflects Trump's evolving strategy for filling high-level national security roles with trusted allies. In Trump's first term, he experienced conflicts with previous national security advisors such as John Bolt and H.R. McMaster, who often disagreed with Trump's directives. This time, it appears Trump aims to sidestep these challenges by appointing individuals like Waltz, who share his foreign policy vision and can advocate strongly for the administration's agenda without internal conflict. The choice of Waltz may also have a ripple effect on the GOP's internal debate over foreign policy. With Waltz in a lead position, we may see a revival of Trump's America First priorities, likely challenging the party's hawkish stance on U.S. foreign involvement. In his previous public statements, Waltz has highlighted his frustration with the lack of support for legal immigrants and those affected by the chaotic Afghanistan withdrawal, emphasizing his commitment to U.S. allies. He recently commented on the challenges many Afghans face post-withdrawal, noting how many have risked their lives for the U.S. and are still awaiting a path to safety. From my perspective, Waltz's appointment could bring a more disciplined approach to foreign policy decisions, particularly those impacting former allies and strategic partners. His military background could also have a grounding effect in policy discussions, especially regarding discussions with long-term national security implications. Representative Mike Waltz's potential appointment as Trump's national security advisor is a strategic move toward a cohesive national security team that aligns closely with Trump's objectives. With Waltz's experience and loyalty, we see a shift in the U.S. stance on foreign conflicts and a renewed emphasis on border security. Well, there you have it. An in-depth look at how a former and the next president of the United States of America will have an effect on global security, international relations, and world stability. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode. I have a quick announcement to make. Next Friday, November 22nd, I'll be presenting at B-Sides Ottawa Cybersecurity Conference. I will be discussing how data breaches and national security intersect. If you're in Ottawa, I highly recommend that you attend this 2-day event at the Ottawa Conference Center. I'll leave a link in the show notes, and hopefully I'll see you there. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.
Thank you for tuning in to this special episode of the Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up. Every episode is crafted with in-depth research and professional analysis, bringing you the latest on intelligence, espionage, foreign interference, and global security. We're here to help you stay informed and prepared in an increasingly complex world. If you found today's insights valuable, please consider leaving a comment, liking, or sharing this episode. Your support helps us reach a wider audience, enabling us to continue delivering expert intelligence insights week after week. For more resources, terminology, blogs, and a deeper dive into intelligence topics, be sure to visit our website, the Global Intelligence Knowledge Network. It's your hub for additional insights, articles, and expert commentary. As Neil always says, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe. We look forward to bringing you more essential analysis next week. Thank you for being a valued part of our engaged, informed community.